Hello, this is Adam, and this is my podcast.
What's in the box?
I called it What's in the Box because each episode, it could be a documentary about immigrants coming to America. It could be about movies that I enjoy, reactions, reviews from a layman's perspective, because I am not a professional filmmaker or a reviewer. Kind of more like a gut reaction to things. There may be some current events that'll be worked in. I don't know.
Well, let's take them on a little stroll down memory lane.
I'll speak for a moment about family. Now, depending on the hospital and the size of the rooms will kind of dictate how many how many family members, extra people can be present. And it comes down to what mom and dad want. In this day and age, we have things called birthing plans. And birthing plans are a specific set of instructions that mom and dad will give as part of their outline of how they want the birth to go. And it isn't enough nowadays, or like it used to be, you could just say, I'm going to the hospital to deliver, and that's it. Now, it gets into the nitty-gritty of, I want the baby to come out and go directly to my chest. I do not want cleaning of the baby, all the white sticky gunk that is covered. That stuff is all over the baby. It protects. And what we do in a C-section to help and make the baby breathe is to try and clean that stuff off with a towel and stuff. So we dry and stimulate. That pisses them off, so they take deeper breaths. So birthing plans, they'll say, do not do this. Save the placenta. We're going to take it home. Some cultures will eat it. So you can imagine there's just this list of things that they want to have done or not be done. And God forbid you screw up and you don't know about it. Not saying it ever happened with me, but just in general, if you do something that you're not supposed to, be prepared to answer for it. So here we are walking into this room. It's non-emergent. I'm expecting to see these different people, and I'm confronted with two guys, and I don't know anything about the situation, but I take up my position. And the doctor's, trying to make small talk. Sometimes it's kind of funny, and sometimes it's awkward. Having another male in the room, me, sometimes is a little bit weird, because everything reflects. So no matter where I put my eyes, I can't help but have a full view of what's going on. And, personally, I don't need to see, the goods. I don't need to see the junk. It's like the TV is angled just perfectly. So there's a reflection there. So I'm trying to stare in every place that is not reflective. And sometimes I look over just to see, is the baby coming? How close is it to showtime? And doctor he's obviously aware of what's going on, but nobody has addressed the elephant in the room until the baby comes out. And again, Dad has a choice whether he wants to participate by cutting the cord. So the baby comes out, and honestly, I might have tossed the grenade in there and by asking, "So who's cutting the cord?" And that is Tales from the Bedside portion of my show. Some of the movie styles or genres that I want to talk about in the future are going to be focusing around the Korean titles, and I think they're a lot of fun to watch, especially if you can watch them with subtitles and not have to a version that has been dubbed in English, because hearing fake and phony voices given to your characters in a dramatic or action-filled scene, but it sounds just so out of place, can ruin the mood. And so I would urge you, any Korean movies that you'll take from my list and decide to explore, do it with subtitles. Get used to reading while watching at the same time, because it'll add so much to your experience. So getting back to that idea that I will be reviewing or reacting to sometime in the future will include things like The Handmaiden, The Piper, The Wailing, Miss Beck, Chaser, Old Boy, which is part of the trilogy Sympathy for Vengeance and Lady Vengeance, Night in Paradise, Battleship Island, The Tower. Now, speaking briefly about a couple of these, I don't know how these made it onto my radar, but after I discovered them, I've rewatched them and I've bought a few of them so I could watch and rewatch as many times, just like owning an old DVD or VHS. But they impressed me enough that rather than indiscriminately buying and downloading what was on sale at the Blockbuster bin, I'm much more picky in what I will purchase. So for what it's worth, what's in the box is a collection of my favorite movies, and they've made it there because they have rewatchability. I'm not one to typically dissect scenes and think about movies, and I'm not an art house type fan where I want to figure out what the director meant by putting an image with a shot or a camera angle. If I get it, that's fine. That may add to my experience, but for the most part, I'm a sit back and enjoy some of the movies, American-made, American actors, English type of stuff that I think illustrate that point is like Inception. I had to watch it a couple of times to fully grasp what was going on, but it was such a good movie that I wanted to watch it and rewatch it and figure out the layers, literally the layers in the movie, and contrast that to Tenet. With I couldn't understand it. I watched, rewound things several times, but I'm not 100% certain that I actually finished the movie start to finish ever. And it is not a movie that I want to invest that much brain cells to figure out. So when I say I watch a movie to watch a movie, it's to sit back and enjoy. So also as an example to help illustrate this point, you take, let's say, two of the movies that I list, The Handmaiden, it's Korean and Japanese, and they tell the movie in three parts because essentially there's three characters, and the movie plays in the first part from the main character, the handmaiden, point of view. And it tells the entire movie, start to finish. And then it goes back and tells part two from the second main character, the lady. And if you watch the movie, you'll understand what I mean. But because the first character is the handmaiden, the servant to this rich lady. It's a shorter version, but it retells the entire movie from her perspective, filling in some of the details. And then finally, part three is from the male lead's point of view, and it fills in all of the small touches that first two parts didn't completely fill. That's a lot of fun to watch. It has some adult content in it, but your adults choose whether or not you want to watch this or not. I'm not here promoting any one style of movie with nudity or sexual content in it purely for that content, but it may be part of the film. So, duly warned, not going to make an issue out of it. The other one that I'm talking about is called The Wailing. I'll definitely do a little deeper dive later because that movie, it requires a couple of times to watch it, but it's not from I don't fully understand the movie and I need to watch it because A plus B doesn't equal C. It's more filling in what did I miss because there's a lot going on. Plus, it's got subtitles, and it's all done in Korean. So it's a really long movie, coming in at around 2.5 hours, but it was so well made that personally I felt like it was watchable. Train to Busan, Battleship Island, and The Tower are just these epic, high-def, adventure-style action movies that gets wrapped up nice and neat at the very end, and it stands on its own, start to finish. I actually rewatched Battleship Island last night because I had a Chinese house guest staying with me and doesn't speak any English, so I was trying to find movies that worked, that had good subtitles for him to read, and I watched the movie without any English to it because there was none to be had with 3 different languages going on. The movie's done in Korean. He had the Mandarin subtitles. It was watched again by me just hearing the Korean in its original form. And while I knew the story, was I able to pick up the story without the crutch of English subtitles? So I was able to get what was going on in mostly, I was going to use the term broad strokes, but maybe a little bit finer strokes because I'd seen it several times, but they did a good enough job telling the story that you're able to understand what is going on. Probably 75%. I think some of the characters of who betrayed whom would be difficult, but you got an idea that there was some deception going on throughout the movie. And for what it's worth, again, that I'll probably do a deeper dive on it at some point, but that movie, the end fighting scene, it goes on for such a long time, and it is such a broad scope. This battle, it's just amazing. You haven't seen it, but you probably haven't. Check it out, because it is so worth the time. All of these really are. But I'll briefly touch on a couple of them right now, and one of them, getting back, was Miss Beck. And that's really not my typical Korean movie. I've watched it probably 8-9 times. I find it just as enjoyable now as I did in the beginning. The characters, the heroes are likable, and I think nobody can quite do a crying little girl as well as the Koreans. And so I would highly suggest you get into it for that. The little girl in this one, Sia Kim, playing Ji-yoon, and she puts a lot of emotion into her acting and into her role. And but it's about abused, tortured in a way, definitely neglected, nothing else, by her father and the evil step-girlfriend. And she's found by Miss Beck, played by Han Ji-min, and she herself was an orphan and had a very hard life, and those two connecting each other, and it all comes together. This is not an action movie. It is straight drama, and it is like a kick to the nuts, right in the feels. It's very good. And all includes footage, the trailer, for you guys to see and watch. Again, a little deeper dive.
너 어디 갈 데 없냐? 물어본 내가 씨발.
18.
야. 근데 넌 왜 볼 때마다 홀딱 벗고 다니냐? 근데 니네 엄마 어디 있는지는 알아?
천국. 나만 없어지면 천국이라고 글을 쓰니까.
뭔 일 있지?
니까지도 인생이 뭘 한다고 남의 인생에 껴들어. 끝까지 책임질 거 아니면 어줍지 않게 참견 말라고.
미스백은 미스백이 싫어요?
이제 인생 그만하고. 나는 너 가르쳐줄 것도 없고 줄 것도 없어. 대신 네 옆에 있을게. 지켜줄게.
One of the movies I forgot, how could I, is called I Saw the Devil. That is straight up one of the harsher serial killer mass murderer, is the same guy from Old Boy. And he plays this character to a T. Just amazing. And this movie is all about the husband of one of his victims, who happens to be a special agent for the Korean intelligence secret service and, super cop type of thing. But he tracks him down and kind of treats him like he did his victims, but he does it while letting them run free. It's a slow burn. He just is evil. Ultimately, he gets what is coming to him, but with a twist, and I'll leave it at that.
점점 끔찍해질 거야.
So that brings us to the end of this inaugural episode of
What's in the box?
I hope you've enjoyed it. Join me next time as we
Take them on a little stroll down memory lane.